Hi guys, I'm Chris,
And I'm Mike.
and welcome back to this week's No Limits Mid-Trap podcast. So how you doing today, Mike?
Dude, I am doing great. We got The Enemy at the Gates cover just released.
Yes, we did.
This past week. It's nice. What are you thinking about it, Chris?
First reaction, I love it.
Yes.
Like, it's exactly what I envisioned in my head. And for the first time, I'm like, the past three covers have been very good, though. I will give them that. But, we obviously rag on all these covers, and this one actually is a gate, and something behind it could be deemed an enemy. So, I don't know. And the color scheme, the blood red, I don't know. It's just, I really enjoyed it. They did spot on. Great job.
It works.
Good job.
You're
by
so
you.
right.
Atria Books.
I was like, maybe having a straight up gate or fence would be a little cliche and a little on the nose. And I don't know. I usually find that stuff cheap, but this is perfect. It works so well. And I'm with you on everything from the gates and the White House. Is the enemy inside the gates? Is the enemy approaching the outside of the gates? You don't know. You don't know. And then a little trickery of that. What side of the gates are you on? Did you notice this? A friend pointed it out to me. All of the text is in front of the gate. So
except for enemy.
Exactly. That would mean outside the gates, on the outside looking into the White House. The word enemy has inside. Two little pieces where it's dropped behind the gates. So the enemy is literally in the White House. Yeah, behind the gates.
I didn't catch that at all.
It's brilliant, and it's like what, maybe 3 millimeters overlap of the gate and the little like fleur-de-lis point
on the N, and just on the N,
maybe
and just
the
a
M.
little bit of the M. It's that subtlety. I like that.
Beautiful.
That subtlety.
It's beautiful.
We're actually getting some quality covers here. I like this.
Now, if you zoom in, are those power lines across the back, or am I just seeing things?
I think we're just seeing things.
All right.
We're traumatized. We're traumatized.
That's when the mass market paperback comes out in Oceania.
It'll be, someone installing power lines behind some monument.
And that's the version that they're going to sell, in like Fiji, Vanuatu.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet there's great sales, out in the islands. Tuvalu. They get a couple of wrap readers. Yeah.
I hope there's a wrap reader there.
International shipping, from Amazon, you just pay $5 extra.
Yeah. Who knows?
All right.
Well, we have a couple of updates to run through here on today's episode. First, as always, can't state it enough, if you can subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast, but preferably on one that gives you 5 stars. And as you guys know, we are teaming up this year with Operation Paperback by sending monthly care packages of Vince Flynn, as well as other thriller authors, to the troops. And Mike has been doing great work, sending out a lot of books. I think our guest today mentioned that he's going to be sending us some books to send out as well.
And he came through. We got a box of 20 extra copies of Transfer of Power. And so we're going to get those in some care packages out to the troops as soon as possible. Yeah.
Nice.
You know what I'm thinking, though? I'm thinking for the month of March, because this episode is coming out March 1st, anyone who joins up as a new patron, we will ship an additional care package in your first month that you join. So in March, somewhere between 5 to 10 books, however many I could fit in that box for that troop. And we hear that they love sharing them. So if we could fit all 10 books, thanks to you becoming a patron, we'll ship out an extra one of those packages this month when you join up. And they share them. They give them throughout the unit. They pass them around. And we got 20 copies from our guest, David.
And we'll do it in your honor. We'll let them know that it's because of you. You're getting these books, right? Yes, but speaking of March, we have to do a giveaway. So we had our February giveaway where it was it'll be a pick your own. So we have Executive Power, Extreme Measures, Pursuit of Honor, and The Survivor left. So you got the wheel ready?
I got it ready. And all of those are autographed by the author. So either Vince or Kyle. And one can be yours. I think we're down to 6 or so patrons left who haven't won a book. And so if you join up now, you got a really good chance. 1 in 5 over the next couple of months, 1 in 1 eventually.
Like those odds.
So you got some good odds if you become a patron for winning one of our book giveaways. All right, I'll spin the wheel. Here we go.
Spin that wheel.
All right, it's wrapping up, and
you need to insert like a wheel spinning thing in this second.
Yeah, there we go. Spend more time editing than I already do. Hey, Matt P. Matt Person.
Matt P.
Long-time listener from the very beginning and long-time patron.
Congratulations, Matt.
Yeah, I'll reach out and ask you which of those 4 options you would like us to send you an autographed copy of. Happy to do it. Yes. Thanks for being on Team Mitrap Pod.
Yes, thank you, Matt.
All right. Well, that's the book cover. That's our little patron shout out and Operation Paperback wrap up. By the way, we hit 100 books that we've shipped to the troops. And so in March, nice. we hope to hit around 120, 130, thanks to your help. And what's next, Chris? What are we doing for the rest of this episode?
All right. Today we are bringing you a special guest that probably a lot of you listen to this podcast know, at least via social media. We had reached out to him and, started talking to him, and we thought it might be a good idea to just pick his brain a little bit about all things Vince Flynn and Mitch Rapp and Kyle. And so that is David the Bus Brown, who is a publicist extraordinaire. So we had a great time talking to David, some pretty good nuggets, good stories. I hope you like this interview.
Joining us tonight is one of the most creative minds and bright personalities of the publishing industry, David the Bus Brown, friend of Vince Flynn, Deputy Director of Publicity at Atria Books. So David, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this podcast. The entire podcast, not just today's episode.
Of course. You were a big inspiration of it when we first reached out to you as our representative, the first person we talked to who actually is hands-on with the rap series. And you gave a lot of good advice and positive vibes about what we were doing. And so a lot of this whole thing is thanks to you in the first place.
Well, when I heard you were doing it, I don't remember how did I come across it on Twitter?
Yeah.
I don't remember how I came across that you were doing this, but this was something that I've always wanted someone to do. A Vince-centric, a Mitch-centric podcast covering all things Vince Flynn, Mitch Rapp, and talking about the books, talking to the people that are involved in the books, and then talking to experts who have real-life experience with the things that Vince and now Kyle fictionalizes in the books. This is something I've always wanted to have happen. So many times where I've even thought about doing it myself because I thought it was such a good idea. So when I heard that you were doing it, I wanted to help support as much as possible.
Well, let's pick up there because that would have been just one of your many innovations and real, ways that you push the boundary of what a traditional publicist or even a publisher as a whole should be doing to push their authors. You've really mastered social media and fan engagement and have really fostered a rock-solid community of thriller fans, not just Mitch Rapp, but all the books that you push. So what is that like? Where do you come up with these strategies for engaging fans?
I think it started because I was working in book publicity before blogs. And blogs were probably the first time where fans slowly became the media. And then social media led to that, and podcasts like yours lead to that. And there's such a blurring of the line between consumers and media that I wanted to treat the consumers as media and treat them as important as we treat the media, and to bring them into the fold and to have them become a part of all the publications and all the hoopla around each publication.
We follow you obviously pretty closely on social media, like you said, and we've seen you launch a bunch of incredible authors. How does an author come in to your portfolio? Do you scout them out? Do they scout you out? How, is it just they're signed with Atria, or and they get you, or how does that work?
Yeah, they're signed with Atria. I don't have any part in it until they're signed by an editor.
Do you like someone so much that you're like, I want to be his publicist, or like I like these kind of books and I want to be their publicist, or like do you ever have to push something that you're not fully engaged with, or I don't know.
Yeah, well, so the longer I've been here, the more say I have in what I get to work on. But when I first started, I was assigned Vince, and I didn't know who he was when I got to Simon and Schuster, and I didn't know that I liked this stuff until I started working with Vince Flynn, and then Brad Thor and Ted Bell also around the same time. I really didn't read fiction since I was a kid, and that was like Tom Sawyer fiction. I never read thrillers. I always was of the mind, why read fiction? You got to read nonfiction so you can learn something. So I was busy reading like Moneyball and Malcolm Gladwell to try to be smart. Meanwhile, I get very smart reading these books. But when I started, I was assigned books, and then as the longer I stay, I can ask for something. So now I get to call my own shots on what I get to work on most of the time. Sometimes for whatever reason, I don't get what I would like to work on, and then sometimes I have to work on things that I don't necessarily want to work on. But for the most part, I get to work on everything that I would like to work on.
Right. I guess, and as a follow-up to that, what is your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job, is there a non-favorite part? I really like my job. I don't
really
answer.
Know if there is.
I don't really know if there is a favorite part, because there's just a lot that I like about it. I think my most what I really love doing is and it's something that I never got to do with Vince or Brad Thor, because I started on Vince's 6th book and Brad's 3rd, if I'm remembering correctly. I'd have to turn around and look at my bookshelf and count to be entirely sure. But I started with, for Vince, I started on Consent to Kill, which was his 7th book, 6th Mitch Rapp book, and for Brad, I started on his 4th book. So what I love doing, from a standpoint of working with Jack Carr, who is another author that I work with, is starting from scratch. That's been exciting. Starting from nobody knowing who this guy is to making him, or to being part of what makes him a burgeoning superstar. So that is, I think, my favorite thing to do in my job. But favorite part is tough to say, because I like a lot of the parts.
Right. Well, you like your job, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Actually, you mentioned how fiction, a lot of people might look at the thriller genre and say, oh, you can't learn anything, or it's just this pop culture. I mean, listen to the 3 names, though, you've just listed, Brad Thor, Vince Flynn, Jack Carr. By reading their books, you can learn a whole lot about the world of operations and the world of military. And with Vince, a political, what Washington, D.C. and the landscape is like. And at least from everybody I've heard from, and I mean, particularly Jack Carr, everybody who reads the book who has experience says, these guys nailed it. Do you get that same feedback that your authors are just nailing it and really keyed in and tuned into what the real world is like? And is that part of what makes their books so popular?
I don't necessarily get that feedback, because I don't know those people in the real world. But I know that I hear from the authors like Vince, who knows those people, or at least the people who have access to him, who are in that world, telling him that, yeah, you got it, and I don't know how you got it, and you probably should get a little less of it because you're scaring me.
Funny.
Yeah, well, we could have done a little less Lethal Agent and Total Power, because those certainly were a little too close to home.
I lost my power yesterday for an hour here, and I swear, I swear to you that I thought this was it. I resigned myself. All right, so I'm gonna have to kill a squirrel in the backyard and figure out how to cook it tomorrow because all my food's gonna be bad and the power is never coming back on. Kyle did a number on me with Total Power.
Oh, that's good.
That's funny.
Speaking of Total Power, which was the latest book to be released in the Mitrap series, can you give us an insider's look at what it's like in the lead up to a launch? Because you have a lot going on in the next couple of months, and we're always looking forward to September. They announced Enemy at the Gates. What's it like in the lead up to a book that you're ready to launch and finally push out there? What's going on behind the scenes?
Oh, it's so much fun. So we like to do the title reveal to get people excited. So, really, the truth is, and it's probably 95%, 98% of the books in the world, there is no title reveal. It just shows up on Amazon, and the cover shows up on Amazon. So it's not an integral part of the publishing world. It's really just something for fun. And so we like to plan out a creative title reveal to announce to the world what the next Mitrap book is going to be. This year we did a social media scavenger hunt. Next year I don't know how to top that. Last year it was fun.
That was
too.
pretty
We did
good.
That video. Yeah, last year we did the video where we asked people to say parts of a word and they didn't know what they were saying until it came together in the video and it announced the title. And then this year at a meeting, someone challenged me to do something better than that. Oh, and then, come on, how do you do something better than that? But I came up with that pretty quickly to do the scavenger hunt idea, and that was fun. But God, if they challenge me again, I don't know how to do it better than that.
You might need like a hot air balloon or a skyride.
Yeah, it's getting kind of out of hand. I don't know how to do it better than that. But so the title reveal is the first part. We're gonna have a cover soon, and we're gonna reveal that. Part of what I do is as soon as I get the manuscript and I'm able to read it, I read it and I try to look for things that can be used for the media. Nonfiction hooks are really important in these books because that's what gets these guys on radio shows and TV shows. Last year, Kyle had a tremendously intriguing and downright scary nonfiction hook. The security and the importance of our power grid and how vulnerable we are and how it is not as secure and not that difficult to turn the entire United States off and make us dark and cold and 90% of us dead. And it's a lot of his a lot of what's in the book is based on research and true. So it's not that hard. So that was pretty compelling stuff to get him interviewed about. So I look for stuff like that. Sometimes it's as apparent as what was in Total Power. Sometimes you dig a little bit and figure stuff out and make things press ready. We book a tour. We try to find great events for him to do. These past 2 years have been different. I mean, I don't know, maybe by the fall we go back to in-person. I think September is kind of the cusp. Maybe not. We'd probably err on safety, on the side of safety. So maybe not, but who knows? I mean, really, who knows? So I don't know yet if we're going to be in person or virtual. But last year was very different because we're doing virtual events and we're booking events and inventing a new way of doing events at the same time, which was fun, which was exciting. Yeah. I hate to say it, but I kind of enjoyed the pandemic because I got to try new things and reinvent the book tour. Of course, I don't like that people are getting sick and dying, and I don't like having to stay inside and wear a mask and try to keep myself from dying. That I'm not saying that I liked, but I liked being given a challenge of having to reinvent the entire way I do my job. It's been kind of reinvigorating.
No, I think that's one of the good things that's really come out of if you can say a good thing came out of a pandemic, but it's not only in book publishing, but literally anywhere. It's forced people who have been, like, let's say, complacency to change and adapt. And I think it shows how well we are are able to adapt. But I just want to touch on something you said where, 98% of books don't have title reviews or cover reviews. But I think that it's different for your books because it has such a large fan following. And I want to know if you could touch on like how you interact with fans. You mentioned the virtual book tours, but I think more specifically the Rap Ambassador program. If you could not only talk about how you engage with fans, but a little bit more on the ambassador program.
The Mitch Rap Ambassador program, when Kyle turned in his first book, his first Mitch Rap book, The Survivor, I read it. Where was I going? I remember reading a lot of it on an airplane, and I don't remember. Where was I? I might have been going to a BoucherCon. What year was that? Was it
2015, right?
14 or 15?
Is it probably 15?
It doesn't matter where I was going. I read it, and I couldn't. If I didn't know that Vince didn't write it, I would never have known that Vince didn't write it.
Right.
And I felt almost guilty loving it as much as I loved it. And I wanted to make sure that every Vince Flynn fan knew that it is safe to read this book, that it is a Mitch Rapp book, it is a Vince Flynn book, and if you didn't know that someone other than Vince Flynn wrote it, you never would have known. But I knew that who's going to trust the publicist? I'm paid to say stuff like that. I work for the publisher who's got lots of dollars riding on this working. So who's going to believe me? So what I wanted to do was find a way to give the super fans an early look at the book so they can tell the other fans that, yes, he did it. Now, that's a risk because I thought that it was as if Vince Flynn wrote it. And I know the people in-house also did too. But that's just a few people's opinion. They could have gone terribly wrong. But it was a no-brainer because the fact that I felt so guilty loving it, I felt like I was betraying Vince. So the fact that I could feel those emotions made me know that yeah, this is it. This is a Vince Flynn book written by somebody else, and who would have known it? So let's have the fans tell their brethren that this is a Vince Flynn book and it is safe. You can love it. It's okay.
It's such a smart program. I mean, while Chris and I were early to Vince Flynn's books, we were late to the social media fandom and the ambassador program. And just finding out about it maybe a year or two ago, it blew my socks off. I never thought there would be such a community out there built around these books that I've loved for so long. To just find other people who are as passionate about it and willing to engage and post about it. It's actually the only reason I was on social media. I was a long time, no Twitter, not even Facebook. I had one maybe in college and I deleted it. The whole reason I got back on social media recently, because I was never a fan of it, was to engage with this community. And it almost, in such a short time, already feels, I don't want to say like a family and be cliche, but there are people I talk to 2 or 3 times a week commenting back and forth about Mitch Rapp stuff. And I've never had that online with a community. Right. So hats off. What a program.
Thank you.
Speaking of your emotional attachment, you knew Vince and worked quite closely with him. And from what it seems, had a personal relationship with him. So do you have any fond Vince Flynn memories? Can you tell us more about who he was, not just the author, but also the man?
Yeah, I have nothing but fond Vince Flynn memories, and I have so many fond Vince Flynn memories. He was as good of a, I say it and it sounds like it's trite, as good of a writer he was a better person, but it's all true. I mean, he was just we talk a lot about I'm going to give you some industry secrets here, or publicity secrets, and we talk about a lot among colleagues with authors, how, when did they make their turn? And that turn is once they become popular and they're no longer nice. Vince never made the turn. He was just the same genuine, humble, regular guy from the time I started working with him to the time he passed away. He didn't change. He was, and I think a lot of it has to do with with he St. Paul, born, raised, lived. He never left. His entire family was there. His community he grew up with, his entire community. So no matter if he went to the White House or he went to Hollywood to sit on the set of 24, he always returned home to the same place where he was a little kid and got treated like that same little kid as he back then. So the people that were closest to him never changed the way they treated him. So he never really thought he was anything other than what he was, which was a great, genuine guy, a nice guy. My favorite story to tell is the first time I traveled. There's times where we would go with authors on different tour stops for various reasons, and I went with him to Seattle for an event. And the hotel that we stayed at caters to authors. They have a special room for visiting authors, and it's a beautiful suite where they have a wall like filled with books. It's really cool. And I know it was cool because when I checked in, I got that room. And I didn't realize that that was the special room. So I checked in. Vince flew in a little bit later. He checked in, and we were going to meet downstairs to have dinner before we went to the event. And he called me to ask if I was ready. And I said, yeah, I'll be down in a second. And I said, I can't imagine what your room looks like because my room is humongous. It's bigger than my apartment. He says, Brownie, you got my room. And, I didn't know him all that well at that point. It was the first time I said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Let's go downstairs. Let's fix it. And he let me have that room. He let me stay there. And most of it was because, like I said, he's a downright nice, generous, genuine guy. But also, he never let me forget that. So he needed something to live with me about for years and years. So that's why he let me keep the room, so he could make fun of me and to needle me.
So he could rib you.
Yeah, to rib me for years to come.
That's awesome.
That's good. I like that.
My other favorite Vince story is I used to have the authors that I work with sign a book for my mother every year until there were so many books she didn't want that anymore. But he was signing and reading what he was writing to me at the same time. He said, "Dear Judy, your son is a prick. Vince Flynn." And then he showed it to me, but it said, "Your son is a prince."
Ah.
Look at that. Look at that.
That's a great guy.
That's a good story.
Recently, Mike told me that you posted recently that there's a Mitch Rapp statue and a conference room named after him at Simons & Schuster. Is this true?
What was that coming out of an air duct? It looked like.
Yeah, so
it's kind of like this.
Yeah. So
is that Mitch Rapp?
There is a Mitch Rapp. You know what? That's a great idea. I should move the Mitch Rapp statue into the Mitch Rapp conference room because the Mitch Rapp into the Vince Flynn conference room because the Mitch Rapp statue now is on my wall in my office.
Okay.
But the Vince Flynn, the conference room they named after Vince Flynn is on the 13th floor on our floor.
Gotcha.
But so they named the conference room after him after he passed away. The statue is a funny story. Often people would email either into vinceflynn.com or to me directly. Somehow they find my email address and they say, "Oh, I've got this gift for Vince. Can I send it to Vince? I got this. I made this for Vince. Can I give this to Vince?" And I would just, say, "Send it to me and I'll forward it on." Because I wouldn't give out anyone's address. So this woman, Heather, last name, don't remember. I made a little label under the statue, so it would be there. So if I was able to go to my office, which I haven't been to in almost a year, I would tell you the last name.
Yeah.
But Heather emailed me and said, I made a Vince Flynn. I have this Mitch Rapp statue. This Mitch Rapp. I guess she said statue that won first prize at this art festival, and I would like to gift it to Vince. And I said, oh, isn't that cool? And I'm thinking like it's like a thermos-sized bust, like a bust. I'm thinking a bust. So I said, all right, just mail it to me and I'll forward it on. And she said, well, I'd rather drive it in. So I said, oh, well, okay, that's fine. Drive it in. She emailed, I guess it was around Christmas time or around New Year's. So it was cold and she wanted to wait until the weather got warmer to drive it in. And I had forgotten about it. May rolls around and she tells me she's coming. All right, she's coming. They call from downstairs. The security guy said, Heather and 2 other people are here with something for you. I said, okay, send them right up. And the security guy said, okay, meet them at the freight elevator.
Oh, no.
And I'm thinking, what? Freight elevator? What is going on?
This is a life-size statue.
What is like a freight? I'm thinking of a bust, like a thermos-sized bust, a bust like you would see. So I wait at the freight elevator, and they have this big wheel. They're trucking it in. There's a man and 2 women. It's in this giant crate. I show them to my office. They undo this crate with the crowbar. They're opening the crate. They have these big power tools. Next thing I know, this giant thing is on my wall. They put it up there so I can see what it looked like. And it is life size Mitch wrap coming out of a grate, right? Like what do you call those?
A duct.
Those ducts.
A register.
Yeah.
For a duct.
Duct. I think it's from Transfer of Power. Yeah, he's got a flashlight in his mouth and a gun in his hand.
Yep.
And it's life size. So they left the crate there so I can eventually send it to Vince. And I emailed Vince to ask if he wanted it. I don't know if he would have wanted it, but it was a sad. I mean, it was May. He ended up dying in June, so I don't think he ever saw the email. I don't know whether he would have wanted it or not, and I hope he wouldn't have wanted it because I don't know how I would have shipped it to him. Again, I was expecting the bust. So that statue lives in my office, and he's kept me safe for quite a long.
He's watching over.
Exactly. He's watching over me. It's a great conversation piece.
Yeah, most people have like a little St. Christopher statue or St. Patrick. You got Mitch Rapp.
Yeah, most people have pictures of their family on their desk. I have a giant Mitch Rapp hanging over me on the wall.
That's awesome.
Oh, I saw that picture you posted. I'm like, this is going to have a good story, but I didn't expect a story that good. What? Any other trinkets part of the Vince Flynn Museum?
Or do you have a Scott Harvath statue too?
I really, the same way I think that there should have been this podcast. I think there should be a Vince Flynn Museum. And I would donate that to the Vince Flynn Museum. Please, they'd have to come pick it up. I don't know how to get it to them.
Yeah, it'd be back in Minnesota.
Well, yes, it should be. Well, it should be at the Vincent J. Flynn Hall on the campus of St. Thomas.
Oh, it's St. Thomas.
There should be a room there. It should be a Vince Flynn Museum. I know that one of Vince's brothers gifted Ryan, the rapologist, the computer that Vince wrote one of his books on. So I would hope that Ryan would donate that to the fictional Vince Flynn Museum that I'm creating in my head. That should happen at some point. Maybe the people at St. Thomas are listening to this, and I can give them this idea. There should be a Vince Flynn Museum, and I would gladly donate the statue, and I would gladly donate any Vince Flynn memorabilia that I have or that I think that I have, and that maybe I don't realize is that special. I have an autographed. The first time I met Vince was at a media luncheon we held for him. It was in 2005. I started in 2005. I think the menu was in my office, so I don't know the exact date, but it was shortly after I started, and I had him autograph it for me. I just thought it'd be cool, and it's hanging up in my office. Gladly donate that to the future Vince Flynn Museum. I think there should be one.
There we go. We already got 3 pieces.
Yeah, all we'd have to contribute is a measly podcast sticker and bookmark, but
hey,
they will be there. Hey. They will be donated.
Yeah.
We can do the opening event. We'll do a live show for the kickoff.
Awesome.
Cut the ribbon.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. We had a great time when we did that Vince Flynn tribute event there when the Survivor came out. That was a very special event. I don't know whether you've ever seen that on YouTube.
Oh no, I have seen part of it. Yes,
I haven't.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to find that. I haven't.
It is worth watching.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Speaking of a little history here, going back to some of the earlier days, we had found out, because we're doing a partnership with Operation Paperback, and we have committed every month to making shipments of Mitch Rapp books to the troops, and so we are close to donating 100 books in care packages to troops and veterans hospitals. And we had heard that you had worked with a group that was doing that earlier, a number of years back. I like the catchy name, the Rat Pack, Operation Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, before the ambassador program, what other fan initiatives or fan engagement has been around, even from the early days of your relationship with Mitch Rapp?
There was a fan website called the thirdoption.net. This guy named Chad Harris ran it. I don't know much about him. We communicated a lot. I don't really know much about him. Never met him. But he ran the website, and for the life of me, I don't know what was on that website except for, and it may have just been the message board. And this was pre-Twitter. This was pre-Facebook. This was when Facebook was only allowed for college kids. Right. So there was no social media. There was nowhere to talk about stuff except for message boards. So that was a vibrant community of Vince Flynn, Mitch Rapp fans, all in one place. And it was fantastic. It was a great community that I wish message boards were still in style or in use, because it was sad to see that group go, because as those communities go, you would talk a lot about the reason you're there, the Vince Flynn books, the Mitch Rapp books, but there were threads on boards on sports and and politics. It was a community that discussed everything, but it was all through the lens of Mitch Rapp, Vince Flynn, and being a fan of the series. But it was great, and through them, they started an initiative, Operation Rat Pack, and they donated. And I think Operation Paperback was one of the places we did donate to. They were around back then, and so people would send in books to Chad and to me, because I remember packing a lot of books and bringing it down to the mailroom, and we sent them overseas.
That's awesome.
And it's great. I mean, a lot of Vince's fans were members of the military.
Right.
They were fans already, and we were sending them the latest books, or they were just discovering him because we're sending the earlier books, and they're sharing it with each other. So it was really great. I'm glad that you brought that back. I would like to donate some copies of the early books, paperbacks, to you guys to send it. So let me know how to do that.
Oh yeah, cool. We would love to have.
Hey, that's great. Yeah.
Let me know the easiest way to do that, because I can inundate you with cartons of books, or I can do it in a more organized way. You just let me know.
Sure.
Yeah, we can. We'd love to touch base about that. Yeah, Rap fans from the very beginning been giving back. And you mentioned discussion board. Actually, just today, I posted on the Mitch Rapp subreddit. There is a subreddit.
You're right. Reddit is a message board. Reddit is this. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're not as big as Wall Street Bets, but
I've posted on there probably about 10 times over the last year or so. Not too much engagement, not like your Twitter account and your social media game that's rocking. But there are a few people. There's an untapped base on the subreddit, so maybe we'll have to get that going.
Let's try to spark that. If there's anything I can do to help, maybe we could make that come alive.
Somebody today just asked, hey, anybody know about the next rap book? And I filled them in on Enemy of the Gates, said, hey, we reviewed it, or we reviewed the plot description on our last podcast. The title came out. The cover's coming out soon, so stay tuned. And I posted vinceflynn.com, so we'll see what we can do there.
Later on, in a few weeks, post on there that the publisher's giving you a galley copy once they're available to give away on Reddit.
Hey, there we go. All right, to the subreddit.
Yeah, let's try to recreate the message boards from TTO.online or thirdoption.net .net. Let's try to recreate that on Reddit. Let's bring the band back together again.
All right, look at that. The Rap Pack coming full circle.
Yes.
Well, I got to ask you, I bugged you and James, who does such a wonderful job with the website, about the title release. We were loving the game. We were loving the excitement, the jazz coming out to the reveal. What do we have to look forward to with the cover reveal?
I think
any sense of a timeline?
I think timing, or I was gonna say we're just gonna reveal it. We're not playing any games.
Sure.
I mean, it could be any day now. Actually, I think that they're putting the finishing touches on. I don't know when this episode goes live, but it might even be out by the time it's out. By the time this episode's out.
All right.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Good news.
Well, just in case anyone out there hasn't jumped on the bus, where can they find you at?
On Twitter, at Atria Mystery Bus. At Atria Mystery Bus. At Atria, ATRIA, mystery, spelled like mystery, and bus, spelled like bus. At Atria Mystery Bus.
All right.
And you will be glad you did.
Yes.
You will be glad you clicked follow. Well, one more thing before we cut you loose and let you go. We have to say thank you. And being Mitch Rap Pod, there's no better way to thank you than to read to you your very own double limerick.
Oh, nice.
Kyle, when we talked to him a few weeks ago, was rather impressed that we left him with his own double limerick. So we thought David the Bus Brown deserves one as well.
He said he had never been read poetry before, and he didn't quite imagine it would be someone looking like Mike reading it to him.
Hopefully you've had more luck. I don't know. Well, here's yours. There once was a publicist named David. The entire industry he has innovated. A publicist extraordinaire and a social media game full of flair. Our gratitude to him cannot be overstated. About starting the Mitch Rap podcast, we asked him. Who are these guys, he thought, so random? His approval we sought, in a role not forgot, marshalling the troops of rap fandom. Thanks, David, for coming on.
That is going on my refrigerator and my LinkedIn page.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Yes. Oh, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this, David.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Enjoyed those stories.
Thank you. That was fun. It's always fun. It's always fun talking about Vince and the Mitch Rap series, but it's nice remembering Vince.
Hey, that was great. We really had fun hanging out with David and hearing his memories and stories about Vince. Everything I hear from people who knew Vince on a personal level and spent some time with him is always so positive and uplifting and generous. And so thank you, David, for joining us and spending some time. It was great to talk to you about Vince and everything he's done for us.
I love that statue story. That's going on. That'll be leading all the social media this week for this episode. I love that.
If you haven't seen it on the social media, you got to look up the picture that he posted and just reposted recently. We got to make that museum. It's got to happen. We got to call St. Thomas.
Let's start it. Start the petition.
We'll donate one Mitch Rap Pod T-shirt and sticker and bookmark for exhibit F all the way down at the end.
All right, so we said at the top, let's say it again. We need to thank our patrons, including our special operator, Sherry F., our special agents, George, Matt, who won this month, Dawn, Dennis, Peggy, Catherine, Ray, Bridget, and Jeff. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us online at mitchrappod.com or using our Twitter or Instagram handle at mitchrappod. And as always, just let Mitch be Mitch.
For the record, I make sure you put none of my other authors have made the turn. They're all good people.
We'll put that on there.
Yes. I never heard that. Make the turn. I like that. It's good to know.